and she was not responding to treatment. And we started with the quad drug, and there's been a tremendous improvement.
The Cure,
it's a really powerful documentary to me because I come from Ghana, the same country the documentary was made in. Personally, from a Ghanaian and a healthcare perspective, I do believe part of the reason some people in Ghana rely on traditional medicine is because of the lack of healthcare insurance or healthcare coverage in Ghana. Because Ghana, like most other developing countries, has a very weak healthcare insurance system. Most of the payments for drugs or for treatments are done out of pocket. So some people could start treatments and then actually just stop the treatment because they run out of money or they don't have the needed support to go through the entire program. And that could be a reason some people depend on traditional medicine to augment their orthodox medicine.
I wavered between sadness and anger. I was, I was also rather offended by the constant belief that this was God's idea. A God who is powerful and compassionate would not let a doctor or whatever pray for 10 years while people around, innocent people, are dying. First of all, this doctor should not be practicing medicine, second of all, and it was so heartbreaking for me to see innocent people suffering, and in some cases needlessly, and worse, believing in a cure that didn't exist. Because I was getting confused whether COA was natural, and I have no problem with naturopaths or non-traditional medicine, but don't tell people something is going to work when it isn't, and don't tell them that it's a gift from God when it isn't. And I could say more, but I'm getting a little verklempt here.
yeah, I think a lot of people...
Sadness and anger. Sadness and anger.
Yeah, a lot of people agree with you right there. We'll go pass it over there.
Yeah, so I was agreeing with him. Okay, so it's like a flip-flop for me. In the beginning, when it's going on, you see the comparisons between each client being sick and they're better. And then in the latter part, I like the fact that they showed that they passed away after we heard about all of these improvements. So I like that good correlation. But at the same time, there was like a little judgment, implicit judgmentality behind it, or something where it's stating that only abroad is can say it's the cure. I don't know how to articulate it properly, but it's like saying only abroad can validate it being a cure. So there was like a judgmental feel to that. Even though it may be true, but like in all of Ghana, there's no official institute that could validate the COA drug.
It's a great kind of documentary where they portray a man who's a doctor, and he thinks that they're doing a great service for him, but then they're just showing the truth of this man, and it's our job to interpret the truth. They didn't know manipulation, nothing. They just showed this guy, and we interpreted who he is.
We all have our own, and the person who was commenting earlier, who is from Ghana, I'm sure he sees this movie differently than I do. And the person who is angry with God taking 10 years to reveal this thing, my first reaction was, where did this guy get a degree? Is he a real doctor? And then immediately questioning, what is a real doctor? I come from a world where that means one thing. And is my worldview, the only one that should be imposed on people who have different traditions?
I'm going to ask a black and white question. Usually I like to talk in the grays, but the black and white question is, who thinks this doctor is a good guy? So out of 100, maybe there's 15 of you. Who thinks this doctor is a bad guy? Who's in between? Okay, so it's like we're split in thirds here. We're split in thirds of this audience, which makes for an interesting documentary in a lot of ways.
the documentary sort of focus on these personal narratives. We tend to personalize blame for these problems, but it's like a broader systemic issue, right? There's always going to be hucksters in communities where people are vulnerable. The broader question is, what can we do to bring people out of vulnerable situations altogether? And the thing that the documentary, one of the messages that the documentary conveys is people just need adequate access to medicine. And that's the point, right? Even in the West, we see poor people, people who are not knowledgeable being taken advantage of by doctors, healthcare industries and stuff. So it's not usually a problem about the doctor in and of itself, but broader conversations that we can have about how do we get adequate medicine to poor communities in general.